Welcome back, Exiles, to a new Path of Exile build. For today's video we have Freezing Nova, which is basically Freezing Pulse with Sire of Shards. This build has been specifically engineered for maximum clearing potential, in addition to almost 100% chance to crit for over 5 times the original damage on every single hit, and multiple defensive layers that we will explore in later segments of this video. For now, let me show you what this build can do. Alright then, let's start with the passive tree. Here is what your general tree should look like at level 93, and that's not including the 2 extra passive points rewarded from dealing with the bandits at Act 2. We have decided to help Illyria here. I will be going over important nodes in this video only. However, if you want to copy the entire passive tree, then check the link in the description for profile to all builds I have made so far, including the passive tree for this build. Anyway, Ascendancy. We are a witch ascended into Elementalist, but you can do this with an occultist if you want. It's up to you. So first, go for Pendulum of Destruction. This is basically a hidden buff that shifts between 75% increased damage and then 75% increased area of effect and so on. We take it mostly for the damage, but the area of effect is nice for many of our support skills. Next, go for Mastermind of Discord. This one increases the effect of heralds on you and makes them reserves less mana. It's essential if you want to run more than one herald in this build, and we do run both Herald of Ice and Herald of Lightning. Next, Bargain of Calamity. This one is excellent as a late game support node. It prevents you from taking reflected elemental damage, thus making mapping so much easier. In addition, it boosts your elemental damage based on which elements you took damage from recently. Finally, go for Shaper of Desolation. This one guarantees that you freeze, shock, and ignite your enemies for 6 seconds every 12 seconds. The buff rotates between elements, and there is an indicator at the top left telling you which element is active at any given time. So that was for the Ascendancy. Now for the order of important nodes that you should take from the tree. As mentioned before, this is a heavy crit build, so you will need to prioritize every single critical strike node cluster for spells pointed at here. In addition, since this build uses a staff, we got the honor of picking up the exclusive critical strike cluster for staff users at the top left side of the tree. Next, go for generic cold damage scaling clusters like the big one over here. Then once you are level 60 and above, take Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery. However, drop Eldritch Battery once you can equip the Devouring Diadem unique helm, as it already gives us Eldritch Battery for free. Finally, go for at least 4 jewel sockets. 2 of them goes for the unique jewel First Snow. Each one adds +2 projectiles to Freezing Pulse. In addition, the skill will deal 25% increased damage if we have shattered a frozen enemy recently. Please make sure that you socket these 2 jewels in the exact positions I have pointed at here. Otherwise, they won't work because they require you to have at least 40 intelligence in their radius for them to apply their effect. Next, get the Green Nightmare jewel and place it at the top center part of the tree. As a mapping build, it's near essential to have some sort of frenzy charge generation mechanism, and the Green Nightmare gives us just that. Finally, the last jewel socket goes for our Watcher's Eye. Try to have base crit hatred mod on it, and for any remaining jewel sockets you have, try to get jewels for them with critical strike chance, critical strike multiplier, cold damage, and or life. Now for the remainder of your passive points on the tree, just go for nodes that gives you more life and damage, and make sure that you take nodes that scales both your energy shield and life along the way. Don't forget that we took Mind Over Matter with Eldritch Battery in this build, meaning that our energy shield is going to help protect us from 1/3 of the damage. Now with the passive tree out of the way, let's talk about your items. The core item is Sire of Shards. It allows socketed spells to fire in a nova, which is basically in all directions. Also up to 100% increased damage to projectiles. Finally, socketed gems fires for additional projectiles without any damage penalty. That in conjunction with the jewels we are using for Freezing Pulse and one of our flasks result in a total of 11 Freezing Pulse projectiles in all directions, as I said, without any damage penalty. Now for your staff 6 link, you want Freezing Pulse, Hypothermia support, added cold damage, Spell Echo, increased critical strike support, and finally increased critical damage support. With all of those gems, I have over 90% chance to deal over 500% critical damage, twice per cast thanks to Spell Echo. Next for your helm, as mentioned before, get the Devouring Diadem. It gives us Eldritch Battery Keystone for free in addition to reducing the mana reservation of socketed gems. And for those gems you want Hatred, Herald of Thunder, Determination, all that linked with level 4 Enlighten, which becomes level 5 thanks to the +1 gems from the helm. Now you can go for Zealotry instead of Determination for more damage, however the build is going to be a glass cannon then. Also you can basically get +1000 armor mod on your Watcher's Eye while affected by Determination for free, since usually most people don't even bother pricing that thing when they put their Watcher's Eye for sale, effectively allowing you to buy a 2 modded Watcher's Eye at the price of 1. However, if you have lots of currency to spare, then run Zealotry and buy a Watcher's Eye with Hatred base crit mod and gain Arcane Surge on Kill Zealotry mod for over 40 exalts. Be aware that you will lose almost 5000 armor because of that, and thus turning this build into a true glass cannon. Anyway, moving on to your body armor, get a level 83 or higher shaped body armor, preferably a base with armor and energy shield. Then keep spamming alteration orbs on it until you get the unique shaper mod that gives spells more base crit chance up to an extra of 1.5%. Then multi-mod the rest into life, armor, energy shield, and resistances. Also, you might want to craft life as energy shield prefix if you have that one unlocked. If not, just craft more flat energy shield. Now for what gem setups you want in your body armor, we are basically running a double 5 link here. We got Frost Bump, Herald of Ice, Curse on Hit, Culling Strike support, level 3 Enlighten support, and Frostbite. Please note that this secondary 6 link setup is not mandatory. If you only have access to a 4 link body armor, then drop Enlighten and Culling Strike support gems and you should be fine. Next, for our gloves, get any high level base you want, preferably one with increased spell damage implicit. Then keep rerolling with alteration orbs until you get a high life roll, and then multi-mod into whatever you like. Just make sure that you craft the hybrid elemental damage and critical strike chance syndicate craft as one of your suffixes. Also increase damage during any flask effect prefix for even more damage. Finally, for lab enchant, you want Commitment of Spite or Commitment of Reflection. I don't have any of those because I'm lazy to farm lab. And for what gems you want in your gloves, we have a level 8 cast when damage taken, linked with level 14 Steel Skin, increased duration, and finally level 11 Vortex. Now for boots, basically same thing, except that some of your crafts are going to be different depending on your missing resistances. Also try to get added cold damage if you have been hit recently lab enchantment. Freezing Pulse has 150% added cold damage effectiveness, so you are basically getting more out of your boots enchant with it. Sadly, I don't have this one as well because I happen to roll life regen, which is a nice thing to have on all builds. Now for your gem link here, we have Lightning Warp, faster casting, less duration, and some Lightning Golem for even more cast speed. Next, belt. Get any belt with tier 1 life, tier 1 armor, and any resistances you need. Pretty straightforward. But for your rings, we are running Mark of the Shaper. It gives us massive increase in spell damage if our second ring is an Elder base ring, and thus our second ring has to be an Elder ring. With it you do the same thing you have done with your gloves and boots, but you want to multi-mod into two important things. One is the hybrid syndicate craft that gives you both crit chance and crit multi if you have shattered an enemy recently, and +1 to minimum power charges. That's a permanent 40% increased critical strike chance. And basically do the same thing with your amulet and craft +1 to minimum power charges, and then take the +1 minimum power charges node on the tree to be able to run around with maximum power charges all the time. Finally, flasks. I'm running a Quicksilver flask with immunity to curses, a Granite flask with 100% increased armor during flask effect. With it and Determination aura, I have around 21,000 armor while mapping all the time. Next, a Sulfur flask with immunity to freeze and chill. Cinder Swallow urn because it gives us a very reliable way to recover our energy shield and life. Also, I don't like running life flasks. And finally, Dying Sun for that extra 2 projectiles to our freezing pulse. And basically that was it for the entire build. A general gameplay tip is to avoid doing high-end bosses with this thing. Now don't get me wrong, it can do something like Uber Elder as our single target damage is actually high enough, but it won't be deathless, that's for sure. Just understand that around half of your damage comes as you kill enemies, so you need to stay on the hunt and kill all the time. Standing still for a boss ruins this, as we don't have a reliable way to recover without our flasks, so you get the idea. But nonetheless, a huge mapping potential that this build has allows it to do something like Deep Delve easily as shown at the start of the video. It can tank the massive damage dealt by monsters at deeps, but since it has nearly guaranteed critical strike chance, it basically freezes everything the moment it touches it. And that's the indirect way to bolster our survivability without having to fully invest into a deep delve character. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you got any questions, just hit me up in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm trying to respond to all comments, so yeah. Also, I hope you give this build a try, as it is super fun. I mean, come on, you are playing Tornado Shot every single goddamn league, so yeah. Find something else to play, man. Anyway, thank you again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and maybe turn the notification bell icon so you don't miss any future builds like this one. My name is Phoenix and I will see you all in the next video.